Good evening and welcome to TRIO, Transplant Recipients International Organization, Philadelphia chapter, March of 2022, our monthly meeting. Happy National Kidney Month, everyone. I am Bill Soloway, chapter president and host of tonight's special presentation. Our guest is a registered dietitian with over 20 years of experience in clinical nutrition. She spent her first 10 years as an inpatient registered dietitian, covering various disease states, including bone marrow transplantation. She has spent the last 12 years as the transplant registered dietitian for the Jefferson Transplant Institute at Jefferson Health right here in Philadelphia. As the outpatient registered dietitian, she's responsible for providing nutritional care for patients who are undergoing an evaluation for heart, kidney, liver, or pancreas transplant, as well as those who are being evaluated as a living kidney or living liver donor. Carlene also holds a certification as a certified clinical transplant dietitian. So start thinking about those foods that you're not sure you should be eating after transplant, and we'll bombard her with some questions later. We want to welcome Charlene Wells.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you all so much for inviting me here to do this. I am always willing to give back, right? It's this great community, the transplant community that I fell in love with over the past, I guess, more, 15 plus years while I worked in bone marrow at Christian and then transitioned to the solid organ transplant realm. So once again, I know there are a variety of transplants here. So the information that we'll be speaking of is just general nutrition information. We'll touch base on a few things with regards to post-transplant nutrition, okay? And if you do have a question, I think we can just go ahead and write it in the chat so that you don't forget it, and then maybe Bill and Jim will be able to facilitate those, the Q&A in that manner. Okay. Are you seeing my big screen? Okay. I'm going to move you guys over to the side here. All right. So good afternoon. As I said, my name is Carlene Wells. I'm dietitian at Jefferson Transplant here in Philadelphia. As a member of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, we're the largest organizations for food and nutrition professional. This month is National Nutrition Month, as well as Bill said, National Kidney Month. So I thought it would be a great way to present some information. Each March, we have a theme of food and nutrition, and this year it's Celebrate a World of Flavors. Okay. For the objectives, we will look at habits to promote healthful eating, explain ways to eat a variety of nutritious foods, and then describe how to celebrate a world of flavors when planning meals and snacks. So both of us were, after transplant, so just going to review some of the goals after transplant, long-term goals, right? So we want to make sure we're obtaining a healthy obtain and maintain a healthy body weight, making sure that we have good lipid health, good blood sugar, and good blood pressure control. So as I go along in the presentation, the information that I will be providing will kind of guide you along these pathways. I also provided Bill some handouts that will touch base on healthy eating, movement, and then a nice sheet on where to find a variety of vitamins and minerals, what foods they're from, and the recommended amount. So that all will go into your resource library. So I want to know what foods contribute to a healthy diet. So we always recommend the foods here are from the various food groups. We have our protein, which are, be animal protein or plant protein. You see the beans there. We have the grain group, which composes of carbohydrate, starches, sugars. We have our dairy group, cheese, milk, yogurt, composes of dairy, and then our fruits group, and then our vegetable group. So the idea is to make sure that we're able to choose from each group, right? Which depends on what's available in our area. It depends on what's in season, right? The type of food that you, fruits and vegetables, the food that you like to prepare, what some that are culturally available for you, right? Your traditional foods, whether you're from Asian, Indian, Hispanic, African, European, Middle Eastern. So whatever that is always good. There's you can fit each cultural food into one of these food groups. Right? So we also talk about eating a variety of nutritious foods, and we do that by incorporating, including foods from all food groups, as I mentioned before, our cultural foods and our traditional foods. So they may not always be quote unquote the healthy, or folks think they're the healthiest food, but they are part of our traditions, and is one thing I always promote and suggest to my patients. Just make sure you're still keeping those, those traditional foods. They can be done in a healthy manner. You do not have to, take them out of the diet. It's about portion, frequency, and how they're prepared can determine how healthy they are. Ways of making, nutritious choices is learning how to read the nutrition food labels. So I know they've made a few changes in the past years of kind of improving how that label is laid out. So here we have the nutrition fact. Are you able to see my arrow? Okay.
No, we can't see the arrow.
Oh, let me.
Oh,
we
now we can. Now we can.
Right.
The cursor, right? Yeah. Now we can see.
Yeah. So working in multiple monitors here. So here when we see nutrition facts, so it starts at the top where we have the serving size per container. Okay, so here this item has 2 servings per container, and it tells you what is a serving size. So 1 cup is a serving with this particular item. We have the calories. So for this, per serving is 220 calories. For the container, it's 440. We go through the food label. We have our total fat. We'll just go down this line, the per serving line. Of that is 5 grams. Total is 5 grams, and it breaks it up into saturated fat, trans fat, cholesterol. And these are the typical things that are on a food label. There are some regulations as to what has to be placed on the food labels. Sodium, so we see where this falls into our range of, is it low sodium, high sodium, and this per serving, it's not bad. It's like a moderate range. When we look at carbohydrate, a lot of folks like to look at that total, that sugar or that added sugar. I try to teach that we look at total carbohydrate. So this item has 35 grams of carbohydrate. Of the 35, 6 is fiber, 7 is total sugar. So that's like natural sugar. And of that 7, 4 of it is added sugar, right? We then have our protein. We see per serving, and then we see per item. These are some of the nutrients that were added to the label just because they are not as, we don't always get the recommended version amount in the US population. So vitamin D, it tells you it's about 25%, which is usually a good source. I think 10 to 25% is of a particular nutrient is considered a good source. So this item it's a good source of vitamin D. We have calcium, iron, potassium. Some labels have phosphorus, and depending on what the item is, it can have a further breakdown of the various nutrients. So wanting to focus on that sodium, most Americans are not, are definitely getting more than say 2,400 or our 2,000 milligram sodium restrictions. We're more so up to 35 to 4,400 milligrams of salt per day. We also have to be mindful of that added sugar section here. So if it's, anything in the grain group will have sugar in it by its natural makeup. We want to avoid items that have added sugar. The recommendation for added sugar is about less than 10% of our intake. So if we're on a 2,000 calorie diet, we kind of see how we can calculate out how many grams of sugar we should have in our diet. So this is a nice little, calculations or formula how to figure that out. So we have the 10%, which is 200 calories. Each gram of sugar is 4 calories per gram. So it gives you the 50 grams of sugar. And then if you want to break it down a little bit further, we see how many teaspoons of sugar. We can kind of estimate how many we should kind of stay away, stick to or below when we look at the total added sugar in our diet. And here the sodium recommendation is about 2,300 milligrams per day. Did anyone know about those added sugars? I raise a hand. Okay. Bill knows. All right. So what does a healthy, healthful eating look like? One thing I always recommend, folks like, how do I lose weight? And, I don't know how many portions, how many calories I should eat. The best way is really starting with, looking at making sure our plate consists of mostly vegetables. I say you can't lose when you have half your plate vegetables. Okay, have the other quarter of grains. So we always recommend whole grain, whole wheat versus the more refined starches. Protein, so this can be animal protein, plant protein, primarily if you're a vegetarian, or if you're going towards a more plant-based diet. And you can, the dairy is there, but for me, you don't necessarily always have to have it at that particular meal. It can be, done at a later time in the day or as a snack before meal, or even, a nice snack after dinner. So general rule of thumb, half your plate vegetables, a quarter protein, and a quarter of your carbohydrate. So how do I, plan those meals and, snacks? So choose healthful recipes throughout the day to make during the week. During COVID, my husband and I, we sat down and we just, made a menu of mainly dinner, right? What are we having for dinner? It could be chicken, it could be fish. You have a protein, lean protein. You may have a meatless meal one day. So we plan that, and then, we add our vegetables. What are we having? Is it broccoli, cauliflower? I'll take that back. We don't really do cauliflower. It could be broccoli, asparagus, whatever, cabbage. We just really do a variety of vegetables. And then when you have your menu, then you go to the grocery store and then you purchase your items from that menu, okay? That way it kind of helps with decreasing food waste as well too. And in the past few months, I think we're all a little bit more conscious of the price of food and meat. So definitely planning the menu and making sure that you kind of stick to that. Definitely decrease any food waste that may happen if you buy things that you don't have a plan to use within that week or 2 weeks time frame. Snacks can count as well. So many people often think snacking in terms of food that's available in the snack aisle, but nutritious foods can be part of snacks. So fruits and vegetables are always a wonderful way of getting snacks in. Say if you don't get your fruit in for lunch, right? So if you're looking at that plate, oh, I didn't get any fruit in. Maybe the afternoon 3 o'clock snack could be a banana versus the cookie, okay, versus the candy bar. So also, just as we plan our main meals, make sure we're planning our snacks as well. I'm very proud of myself this week. I've done the blueberries and strawberries today. I have an apple. I'll say yesterday I did finish off a lemonade cookie instead for my 3 o'clock snack versus, my fruit. But all things can fit in. So I counted that as part of my added sugar snack for the day. I was on my 50 grams, so I'm okay. All right. Also be careful of our drink choices, right? Are we doing sodas, which we know are all added sugar? Okay. Seltzer water is a nice substitute for any sodas. If you choose, you can also do a caloric or 0 calorie beverage as well. We can do unsweetened iced tea or reduced sugar lemonades and so forth. By learning how to, create tasty foods at home, anytime we make our foods at home, we basically have control of what goes into our food. With the world, so much virtual world things going on now, you can easily find a cooking show online, right? There are so many tons of YouTube recipes that you can try, and they, definitely involving the family into mealtime is great. I have a now 13-year-old. He was 11, 12-year-old during the past 2 years. But we did like Hello Fresh meals together. My husband and I are in the kitchen together. They're doing the pasta. Someone's doing the vegetables. So he's the asparagus, prepper, right? And he cooks the pasta al dente. So he's great at it now at the age of 13. But getting the family involved, getting the kids involved. Using fresh herbs to flavor your foods, dry herbs, spices instead of salt, fruits instead of sugar to add flavor and sweetness to your beverages. The good news is many opportunities to improve the eating habits, and small changes are very beneficial, and they tend to last longer over time. Planned meals, as I said, based on recipes of other cultures. So we could do stir fry one day. We can do tacos, or that one sheet pan for tacos or fajitas. We could do a stew, we can do curry. There's so many ways to incorporate the various cultures into your day. Right. And then just choosing different ingredients for textures and colors, the different. I had a very nice salad today. So I had peppers. I tossed in some tomatoes and actually some blueberries and strawberries with like a nice vinaigrette dressing. So, just adding a really, really pretty salad, as we say, eat like the rainbow, right? So jumping into how do we maintain that weight and that healthy post-transplant, we talked about what we do on the diet part. So let's now talk about touch base on recommendations for exercise. For adults, it's recommended 150 minutes a day, a week, excuse me. Whew, that would have been a very, that's marathon work there. So 150 minutes a week, moderate intensity. Basically, you can walk 25 minutes, 6 days, or, maybe 15 minutes at a time. I tell patients, you don't have to do a half an hour sprint. If you go one way 15 minutes, you have to come back home, right? So that on the way, the return is another 15 minutes. Right there, you have a half an hour. So if you walk, there's no need to, let me walk half an hour one way. You're going to be tired by the time you get back on the way back. So 15 minutes one way, 15 minutes back, that's 30 minutes right there. And we're, every other day or so, we can build that up and meet that 150 marker. One of the handouts speak on activity a little bit more and give some more details on strength training and how you incorporate that into the diet. Some things after transplant. For me, I always stress to my patients, this doesn't really go away, right? Especially in that earlier part of transplant, it's really stressed, making sure we're cooking our meats well, avoiding undercooked meats, poultries, no raw eggs, milk, or seafood. I know many patients go on years ahead and they, may try some of these, but just remember, it's always a risk. I had a heart and kidney patient who, like 5 years out, he had bad, I think scallops or, just, I forgot where he purchased them. It wasn't a safe source, and ended up having a foodborne illness, the Vibrio, that's associated with seafood. So always be careful, look at your source, but know that if it's raw or undercooked, you're always taking a risk. We know the no grapefruit and the pomegranate as it interacts with our medications, right? And also making sure we're avoiding those herbs that can stimulate the immune system. The whole concept of organ transplant is that we taking these medications to suppress our system and keep our organ healthy, and so that we don't reject it, right? Some of these are some popular ones that we can stimulate the immune system. We have echinacea, ginseng, elderberry, ashwagandha, and green tea extracts. And some of these, so the green tea extract, ashwagandha are, linked to some liver toxicity. So we also have to be mindful of what these may issues they may cause for us. I tell folks, it may be good for others, but at this point within as a transplant patient, is not good for you. Liver tox is a resource that you look, you can cross-check some medications and with your, so for any toxicity or interaction with your medication. All right, some little other tidbits, always get the dietitian as your main source of nutrition. Okay. One thing I like to show this website here. Let me try to, I'm going to stop sharing this one and let me share. If I can find it, I have all these things open. So, all right. So I just came upon this website, and as you see it, there's the previous My Plate / plan. So you start it, you put in your age. Where am I?
Uh-oh, you're showing your age now.
I am, but guess what? I said I'm changing age demographics shortly, because you have to the 45. I'll be 46 in May. So I was like, oh no, I'm changing demographics. I'm okay with my numbers.
Should we say don't look 45 or 46?
Huh?
Should we say that you don't look 45 or 46?
I appreciate that, and I try my best. So in all reality, sometimes I get maybe 30 minutes. It's my, I'm walking back and forth from the train. So that's my activity right now. So I'm going to choose, less than 30 minutes of moderate, be real with it. And it calculates so 1800 calorie diet is what it tells me my calorie intakes are. And it breaks it down to how many fruits, how many protein that I should have, vegetables, dairy, all these different things. And it really, I thought this was a really nice tool to say, like, how do I, how many calories should I eat? It's, start there. It's a nice tool to really use. And let me go back to the presentation.
Yeah, well, Carlene, we're coming up on 7, and I know
7.
you got a skedoot here. I just wanted to open it up for some quick questions on foods that people wonder if we can eat or not, and I'll kick off that discussion with fermented foods, right? So some of us like sauerkraut, and what about kombucha and some of these things that are fermented? What do you say to that?
So there's and that's a hot topic too. I've seen it, if it's fermented in the store, then it's okay to have it, like with the sauerkraut. Kombucha, we still need to be mindful, say if we do have on the liver transplant side, because there's still some alcohol in there. And if we are ingesting a consistent amount, that can, cause some changes in our LFTs, because it is fermented alcohol. There are good prebiotics with a lot of these fermented items. If you do make it, by at home, refrigeration is important. And I think just stick to that. The time frame is important.
Okay.
But always be mindful of that.
And someone wanted to know about sugar sweeteners, or I should say non-sugar sweeteners, like stevia or.
So they're an option. I get the response, oh, it causes cancer, like for the diabetics. I'm like, well, if you use regular sugar as a diabetic, that will kill you way faster than any cancer that this stevia or these things may cause. Right. There's also always room for that in the diet. Be mindful that it is so sweet. Sometimes, the long-term use of it kind of changes the taste buds, right? So that if you drink maybe a regular Coca-Cola now, it's so, it doesn't taste sweet anymore. We end up drinking more, and that effect as we don't, it doesn't taste sweet. So I'm gonna continue to drink it.
Okay. Hey, and I'm being mindful of the time.
No, I'm good. I'll log off, but I have my computer ready here too. So it takes a little time for them to log in, but I can push it a few more.
Does anybody have a question for Carlene in regards to questionable food? Susan Pincus.
Yeah, on your list, you included green tea extract. What about just a soft drink, a green tea drink? It's not as concentrated as taking an extract.
Right, those are fine. The green, iced tea, green tea, a plain bag tea bag is fine. It's that powder, concentrated powder that you want to be careful of. And also, even with what do you call it, like loose leaf tea, we have to be mindful of that as well, because they tend to be a little bit more concentrated and than we want to.
Right. And what about acai? ACA.
I can't. I know. it's
easy for you to say.
Huh?
Easy for you to say.
Right. I think that one's okay. Okay to do. That's okay. Now, is a carnivore diet safe for transplant? So, iPhone. Do you mean primarily meat or like a keto diet, or just protein?
I was referring to primarily just the carnivore diet, not a keto diet. And, you hear all these latest diet crazes, you have these Paul Saladinos of the world that are saying that you can get all your nutrients just by purely a carnivore diet. And I know that you have to be mindful of your cholesterol and so on and so forth with those, but are there any contraindications for something like a carnivore diet in transplants?
I would say, just a minute here, let me mute. I would say always be mindful, right? Because if you're doing a carnivore diet, are you cutting out your grains, which are your B vitamins? Or you cutting out your fruits, your vegetables? So always be mindful of whatever diet you choose. Make sure that it's sustainable and that we're not totally eliminating any of the food groups. Now, if there's an allergy, sure, go ahead and you have to eliminate that. If there's GI intolerance, you may have to minimize how much you're eating, but ultimately choose something that you can follow throughout your life cycle. Many of the studies now are saying that, especially just for general kidney health, a more plant-based diet is what's encouraged. So not vegan, not necessarily vegetarian, but say, more plant versus animal protein. There's alcohol consumption. So I would say this is all dependent on your organ. So liver, never. Okay, never additional alcohol consumption. And the others, I would be mindful of portion, right? Because we can still, are we doing enough, too much alcohol that it inhibits our behaviors, and does it become addictive? So once I tell a patient, you can still have kidney disease again, even from the new transplant. So if you're diabetic, it can ruin the new kidney. You can still have, fatty liver, although if your liver disease was one thing, it can still affect the new liver. So treat it as that newborn baby, take care of it always. Anything else?
Arlene, I noticed you backed away from cauliflower earlier on, and I would agree with you, but my son introduced me to something. There is now frozen cauliflower with flavoring in it, like garlic and stuff like that. Oh, it was delicious. I was very surprised. So I found it in Aldi's, and it's a steam-in bag, and it comes in two or three different flavors. It's quite good.
I would be mindful of any vegetables that have flavors in them already. Look at that label. Flip the label and see how much salt is in there. Because I'm a fan of frozen vegetables. If it's canned, you can do low sodium canned or no added salt. So that's not a big no, just no added salt. But you can flavor your vegetables at home with the garlic. I only say cauliflower because everyone is the rage, right? It's just the rage.
There's nothing wrong with cauliflower, girl.
No, nothing's wrong with it. But you know how it's the brand, right? It's the brand, the marketing of cauliflower this, cauliflower that. But it's fine.
I used to work. I'm a nurse and I'm a living kidney donor. I don't know. I don't know you, Carlene, but my husband has a liver and a kidney transplant.
I see both of them.
I used to work for a family practitioner and we did diet. I did a lot of diets with the patients all the time. The one thing he's got to remember is portion control, and you're going to lose weight no matter what you eat, nothing bigger than your fist. Low sodium is fine. Low sodium is fine. Now, my husband's had a liver transplant 27 years.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. His liver doctor says to him, so tell me exactly how much alcohol you're drinking. So my husband says, yo, doc, I had a liver transplant. He said, you may have a glass of wine occasionally now and then.
Yeah,
but the person who had a liver transplant secondary to cirrhosis of the liver because of alcohol consumption, that's a problem.
Correct.
Right? So, and the other thing I want to mention to you or other people is there's sugar in the raw. And sugar in the raw is also a very good product to use instead of regular sugar,
Refined sugar.
refined sugar. It's not, all the refined sugars.
Turbinado,
What's that?
Yeah,
turbinado. That's
now
Yeah.
like
really-
portions as well, right? It's all
Right,
things portions.
Yeah.
I
Portion.
got my class is on to my left. So
Okay. Well, Carlene, thanks for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it. And we look forward to talking to you again real soon.
wonderful. Guys, share those the handouts. It's just very good resources. And Bill has my information. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. Emails are very easy for me, not a problem.
And eat
Great.
your cauliflower.
I'll try. Bye, guys.
All righty.
Bye.
Thanks, Carlene.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Colin.
Hey, so we're going to keep the discussion going. Carlene did send me some handouts for you guys that if you're interested, I can certainly email them out to you. I just wanted to make a general comment about an apple a day, right? I think that's a bunch of crap. Apples are dangerous, right? Just look at
No.
Eve, look at Snow White, and look at Winnie Pig at a luau, right? And tell me that apples are safe.
Apples are awesome. They're great for your GI system. They have pectin in them that helps digest everything you do and eat. Don't listen to Bill.
Hopefully we can use the unwaxed apple.
There
I
you
would
go.
say that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible, right? I saw a YouTube video or something where people ran hot water over an apple and you see the wax that comes off of that.
Exactly. Yes.
We wash.
I feel itchy.
Yeah,
when I-
we peel them.
Yeah.
But I have tried, sorry to interrupt, but I have tried peeling it off and then still having it, but somehow it seeps in. Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong.
Well,
Maybe
you
I'm
can
too sensitive about my,
wash all your fruits and vegetables
I
with
do
soap
that.
and water. Yeah.
I do that. But
Yeah.
there's some, when I buy from the farmer's market or maybe one of the, all these farms, they're pretty fine because they're not waxed.
Right.
And, even when I buy something from Costco or BJ or somewhere, the Fuji ones comes up pretty nice versus the other ones, the Gala ones, basically.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Maybe it's me who's sensitive, but
We
yes,
use
wax
all-
ones we should avoid for sure.
Yeah, we use all fresh vegetables, and then if we can't use all fresh, we use frozen. Never ever can in our house, and lots of fruit.
Right. That's
Yeah.
true.
So during this pandemic, a friend of mine couldn't afford to pay his water bill anymore. So I sent him a get well soon card, which brings up the point about well water, right?
Can't-
So an interesting thing I ran into early on in transplant after I was transplanted was I always liked to take my dad out to lunch, and he lived in a remote part of the state where a lot of these restaurants are out in the middle of nowhere and they're on well water. And I made it a point to ask the waitress, right, if they're on well water so that I knew not to have ice or drink the tap water. I would get, as they say in Europe, water with gas, right? So that's sparkling water. Or I learned then that I would carry my own bottled water into these restaurants. But you have to be mindful of that too with what you're ordering, right? So if you're ordering a salad, how are they cleaning that? These are real critical things with transplant patients that are, less than a year out. And as most of you know, the longer out you are, the more you're willing to flirt with some of these things and they don't affect you as much, right? And of course, everything in moderation. So did anyone else have any thoughts on foods that were questionable that they were worried about eating? Because I know occasionally I'll come across something, right? Just like these fermented foods. Kathy and I were making sauerkraut one year. We were making it, not buying it. And that was something that came up. And Kathy was drinking the kombucha. And I was just like, no, I don't think so. And then, of course, we all occasionally like to have that egg sunny side up, right? And or a soft boiled egg, and that's a no-no, right? Because it's raw. But then I was seeing in some supermarkets, you can actually buy pasteurized eggs. Has anybody seen this? So that was something that I was going to ask, because it is pasteurized. Is that something we can still consume?
We just always
So-
make sure we cook the eggs better. You know, Bert has sunny side up eggs, but we just don't make, or no, yeah, over easy he does. I'm sorry, over easy. But
Steve has his hand up.
Yeah, go ahead,
Yeah.
Steve. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on something that a conversation I had with the surgeon that performed my transplant. This was 8 years ago. We're talking about things to eat and not to eat. And of course, they had in the transplant center a nutritionist who was specific to renal, diets, which was, my situation. But the surgeon had his own view on certain things. And a couple of items he touched upon, which may be germane to the conversation, was, in his opinion, you should avoid decaffeinated beverages, vis-a-vis coffee and tea. And as he was giving me his rationale, I put my hand up. I was in the food industry my entire life, and I remember clearly going into one of the manufacturers that I represented, one of my clients. Matter of fact, it was the old Chock full of Nuts Coffee Company. And I said, where is the production line for the decaffeinated coffee? And the response from the director of quality control was, we don't allow that here. We get that from overseas. We do not want that chemical anywhere near anything that people are consuming. We don't want the exposure legally from a health standpoint, et cetera. And this is where the doctor was coming from. So he pointed out that item, and he also pointed out herbal teas. And I asked him what his thinking was on herbal teas. He said, we don't know what the hell's in it. He said, maybe someday the studies will reveal that yes or no, it's okay. But those are two things that a lot of us partake of, are exposed to, that are just routine, decaffeinated beverages, herbal teas. And he's saying, stay away from it, which I always do.
Does anybody else have any comments on some of the food or beverages?
So Bill, this is Neil. You
Yeah.
made the comment about well water. I have well water at my house, and I've been drinking it all along, and I never heard that before. So we have a filtration system with ours. So I assume if it's filtered, that it's probably adequate. I
Yeah,
don't
so
know.
it all depends on the filtration system and how often you change the cartridge or whatever, however that works, right?
So yeah, I mean, we change it regularly and everything. So I assume I'm okay.
Well, you're still here.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
Angel, go ahead.
when Bert was transplanted 27 years ago, there was those three different things that the doctors told him not to have. And the same thing Steve said. No, they never said anything about decaffeinated products, but no herbs or nothing like that because of the liver. And the other thing was well water, and can't be in the rural areas where there's any kind of runoffs into the sewer, because then that gets back into the water systems and everything. But to answer Neil's question about, I have well water and I'm here. I've known lots of different transplant people who have well water and don't have well water. And the ones who have it and have survived well with it they have lots of filtration systems in place, and they get frequent checks of that water. So they get it tested on a regular basis. We just chose never to have that situation and have the well water because Bert being a liver transplant patient, and that's what we do with that. So, I mean, I don't know if that helps you, Neil, or not, if they check your well frequently or not. So, or you have it tested is what they say to do. Have it tested.
Yeah, we have had it tested several
So-
times, and so far it looks good. So I think I'm okay.
I think they say as long as you're bathing in it and you brush your teeth with it, but drinking it on a regular basis, I think is a concern to some people. I don't know. So, I mean, if you drink it right from the well, I don't know.
No, we don't. We have a separate tap that
So-
goes through an extra series of filtrations for our drinking water. So
Well, there you go. Okay. Mhm. Okay.
Well, as long as you're mindful of that and, you have it checked and tested. Any other comments on well water or any other foods that are questionable?
Maybe the well waters can be, you can boil the water and maybe, store in the fridge and you can have it that ways. That can always help because there are a lot of alkaline minerals that must be, kind of should be taken away. That's my suggestion, I guess. Whether Neil takes it or not, that's a different thing. But a lot of people, rural areas, not only in US but outside of US also. And whenever in I live in Edison, New Jersey, so whenever we get like some kind of notification from the say Middlesex Water Company on the adulteration of the water due to pipes and all that, we do use regularly bottled water. By the way, for myself, my kids, my wife, they like just have the water from the fridge. But whenever we get the notifications, we try and like boil the water. And then you use it that way. It cools down or put it in the fridge and then use it. Just, one very simple way of doing it. And that's very, very safe, very safe. So
Sandy's a new face with us this evening.
Yeah,
Sandy,
hello, everybody.
can you give us a little introduction on your transplant and so forth?
yeah, sure. Definitely. Thank you so much, Bill, first of all. And I apologize for not being part of this, as I know you have been sending some of the notifications in the past also. So just to let everybody know, my name is Sandeep and I live in Edison, New Jersey. I got heart transplanted on 29th of October, 2019. And I was very fortunate to get a heart. And my agony today, even today, is that I have yet not been able to connect with the family, the donor family, basically, who are like my angel. Any words, any emotions that can come out of me would still not be able to express or convey as to how I feel for them and what I feel every moment and every day when I wake up for them. But still, wherever they are, I would, thank them from my bottom of the heart that they gave me. So that's one thing. And I was transplanted in Philadelphia, Philly UPenn. And it's been 2 years and precisely about 6 months. So 2.5 years out. And I was really lucky to have Bill, because Bill was the first person who I met who himself was transplanted. And this was not before the transplant, but after the transplant. Right, Bill? Because a lot of people, they try and meet people who are already transplanted just so that they pass on that courage and the positivity to the person who's going to get transplanted. So, but I was lucky to have him, maybe because I didn't have that much of a window when I got transplanted, because I was in ECMO for almost 10 days. And in fact, just before ECMO, I was dead for 3 minutes. I was given the CPR. Then I was kind of resected. And before that, I was also in ICD for almost 8 years, since 2012 of May 28th, 1st June of 2012, actually. So that's my background. And I'm really happy to see all of you. And thank you for listening to me.
Well, listen, we're glad
We're
to
happy to
have
see
you
you.
join us, and we hope to see you on a monthly basis now.
I'll do my best. Yes, sure, Bill.
Welcome.
Sandy, where did you get
Welcome,
your
welcome,
transplant?
Philadelphia UPenn. Philly
at Hub.
UPenn.
I'm
Yeah.
from Metuchen originally, and New Brunswick was where I was born in St. Peter's, but grew up in Metuchen, which is the whole of the donut for everybody else.
Donut area,
Edison
yeah,
is the
that's-
donut. Metuchen
that's
is a
next
little
door.
one square mile in the middle. But
Yep.
nice to
yep.
meet you, Sandy.
Same here. And where do you live, Jim, now?
I'm down in just below Burlington City, still in New Jersey.
Burlington City. Okay. Okay. That's Northern Jersey, right? I believe.
No, that's
Oh.
Southern Jersey.
Southern part of Jersey.
South
Just
Jersey.
across from
South
Philadelphia.
Jersey.
Also
Okay,
up
We're
in,
in Jersey. We're Jersey too.
yep.
Oh,
Also up
Same
in
here.
heart transplant and just across the bridge.
okay, good. Could I ask how many years, Jim?
28.
Wow. Touch wood. Touch wood.
Bert's trying to pass me with his liver at 27, but I keep moving faster.
Wait, what 28 when? What'll be 28 when?
I'm in my 28th year now. I'll complete my 28th year October 19th of this year.
Okay, because he'll be 27 in May, and then his kidney will be. Do you believe it's 5 years already since our kidney?
Oh, wow.
kidney-
Time does fly.
I
once you
can't
get past
believe that.
Yeah,
Wow.
crazy.
5 years since the kidney transplant.
Hey, and I
Yeah.
noticed Barry. Barry, I don't know if you can turn on your video and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Barry Cooper. I'm a heart transplant patient in 2014, and down at U of P, I had giant cell myocarditis, and actually the food issues. Within a year after my heart transplant, I had listeria meningitis.
Oof.
Listeria is a foodborne bacteria, and there was apparently at the time, usually it comes from dairy products, but there was some outbreaks. In fact, there's some websites. The government runs a website on foodborne illnesses, and there are frequent outbreaks of these different bacteria around the country and around the world. So apparently the listeria was something that was showing up on nectarines, and I washed it off, but I suspect that's where I got it from. So I think foodborne illness and people are immunosuppressed is definitely something that we all have to be aware of. In fact, at this point, I won't eat anything that hasn't been cooked, just as a safety precaution. So that sort of, makes it a little difficult to eat, salads and things like that. But I just feel safer having things that are cooked. Fruits, usually I'll stew them or get canned fruits, which are, I think they're cooked to some degree. So I'm not exposing myself to infection. The other thing that I wasn't touched on very much was drug-food interactions, and I find that's something you really have to read the fine print on all these labels to make sure that you're not getting, particularly certain spices. One comes to mind, and it is ginger. I believe can interact with some of the anti-rejection drugs, and those drugs, as most of us know, have sort of a narrow therapeutic window. So, if you're sometimes, if you're getting a drug level and you've had something that has ginger in it, next time you get the drug level and you haven't been eating those kinds of foods, then foods with those ingredients, it can alter the drug levels and make it more complicated to adjust your drugs properly. And just one final comment on foods. I think whether you take, I know with tacrolimus, the anti-rejection drug that I'm on, if you take that with food or without food, particularly if you take it with a fatty food, it gets absorbed differently than if you take it without a fatty food. So you sort of have to make sure that you're doing it in a consistent manner, because if your drug levels are being checked and are varying, it could be the variations could be related to the whether you're how the food is interacting with the absorption of the drug.
Well, Barry, thanks for joining us, and thank you for those comments. I notice another new face. Bob, welcome. You're on mute. You need to turn your mute off.
Hi, Bill. How you doing?
All righty.
All right, I'm back.
Okay.
Yeah, it's great to see everybody. It's been 2 years. It's been like just a big gap in my life, not seeing everybody, and it's not just transplant people, but my families and friends and church people, and oh my gosh, it's been a mess. But anyhow, my question, and I've been transplanted, heart transplant, almost working on 9 years. So, but my question that you guys were talking about, and I did come a little late, was about the water. I also have well water, and prior to transplant, I had some kidney damage, so they prescribed me to drink. So, I mean, I drink a lot of water, and all my well water, mostly really, I'd rather not drink out of the bottles because of the plastics and things like that. So can anyone tell me exactly what is it in the drill well water that we're looking for that may harm us?
Yeah, so bacteria content, right? It's in the ground. You know, we're told that we really shouldn't play in the dirt. If you're a gardener,
Right,
you
right,
know,
right.
you want to be careful of the contact with that. So it may not be a bad idea, Bob, to have your well water tested and checked.
Okay, I can do that.
You know, and let them know what your situation is and that you need to be very conscious about, you know, certain bacterias and everything as an immunosuppressed patient.
Right, right. Yeah, well, I'm sure I will have it checked, but I mean, I guess that can all change too, you know, with the aquifers down there and the water that's down there, who knows, you know what I mean? So, but
Yeah.
I will have it checked, and you know, of course, I'm all in, whatever I need to do to keep me going here. But I've been drinking. I drink at least 2 liters, maybe 3 liters a day, and always my own water. So
And what kind of filtration system do you have, Bob?
I just have it takes the iron out. Basically, it's a salt system where it takes the iron out.
So
But
you have a
that's-
water
that's-
softener? Uh-huh.
I mean, I've had it checked in the past, but it's been a while, so
Yeah.
it's time for me to do that.
Yeah, and it may not be a bad idea to have maybe something put in your kitchen sink if that's where you get your water from that you drink, or I don't know if your refrigerator has a water
Okay, yeah,
station.
I can get a filter of whatever's needed.
Yeah, so it's better to err on the side of caution, and
Absolutely,
I
yeah,
think you can't be too careful when it comes to that.
right, absolutely, yeah. Well, so far so good.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I didn't mess
But
up.
go ahead, Angel.
Also with your bottled waters, Bob, like
I'm sorry, dear. I'm sorry.
also with your bottled waters,
Okay.
you're saying you don't want it because of the BPA and all that stuff. Because of Bert's kidney transplant, and I'm a living kidney donor, so we both drink like you do. But I'll start out with one of these a day, and I continually fill it all day long.
Oh,
But the
okay.
only problem with the bottled water is if you let it sit, and bacteria, like from when you drink and it goes back in the bottle, goes back in the bottle, that type of thing. But as long as you keep it continually the same temp, like you don't let it sit, don't let it get any kind of bacteria to grow back in the bottle, and keep it going. And because if we sit and we get busy and don't do anything, and I'll say, you know what, that water's been sitting there too long, I dump it. I just dump it. It's not worth the chance for me and for him, you know. So, but we constantly, and we keep the big 5-gallon water bottles.
Okay.
We have them delivered to the house.
Okay.
So, you know,
Okay,
and
well,
then
I'm definitely going to check this out, you know, and make sure my own water is good.
Where do you live at?
I'm in New Jersey also.
Okay. In New Jersey, there's a company called Ready Refresh.
Ready Refresh?
Yeah, it's called Ready Refresh. And if you have them deliver water to your house, the first time you do an order with them, first time, they give you 50% off your first order. So of course we ordered 25-gallon bottles at the first time. So we only had to pay for 10. So we didn't order water for a while after that, because it's only the 2 of us.
Okay, and that's that filtered and things like that, or
it's Poland spring water or Deer Park or whatever you like. Just don't go for the a lot of people don't realize, and they use what's the one that what's the one that has all the Discani, the different nutrients and minerals in it. You don't want all that. You don't want all that. You just want normal water. You know what I'm saying? You don't need.
You want spring water. You want spring water.
Right. Exactly. You don't want added minerals. You don't want added potassium. You don't need any of those fancy sparkling crap. It's not good for especially cardiac patients. You know, one time we were drinking this water, we were away, and then all of a sudden Bert was starting like his feet and his hands, and I'm like, what the hell? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? I was going, you know, the nurse in me was going crazy. And here I picked up the bottle of water. We were in Italy actually. And I picked up the bottle of water, and it was potassium, this mineral, that mineral, this. I'm like, and he was like, you know, just getting way too many vitamins and minerals and stuff and supplements. And we don't need that. No, thank
Okay.
you. You know,
Okay, well, thank you for that. I appreciate that so much.
Ian,
You're
thanks for
welcome.
joining us.
I think I'm doing the right thing by drinking all this water. And I love my
Absolutely, yeah.
water actually, because when I'd go to my mom's house and she had city water, I'm like, oh man, I don't like it. It doesn't, that doesn't taste right. So
Yeah.
I've been thinking I've been doing the right thing, but maybe not. So, but I'll get it checked out. And thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your input. I appreciate that.
you're welcome.
Ian, I want to be mindful of the time here. I just had a couple other things that I wanted to touch on. As you all know, next month is April, which is Donate Life Month.
Woohoo!
So get ready to get involved and plugged in with your OPO, which for most of us is Gift of Life. Of course, the 25th annual Donor Dash is happening in Philadelphia at the steps of the Philadelphia Museum of Art on Sunday, April 24th. Sandy, highly recommend you check this out if you are comfortable in venturing out. With that being said, I just wanted to remind everybody, just when you think it's safe to get back in the water, pun intended, a new COVID variant is spreading across, and some of you have read about the BA.2 variant, which is becoming the dominant coronavirus strain, making up 39% of the cases in New Jersey and New York. That's the week ending March 12th, and that's up 25.5% from the previous week. So listen, never put your guard down. We always need to be mindful. And with that being said, if you've ordered COVID tests from the government, that's at covidtest.gov, you were entitled to 4 COVID test kits. Well, now they've extended that, and you can order another second batch of 4 COVID test kits by going to covidtest.gov. They're free of charge, and the USPS delivers them to your door in a matter of days. So again, we can never be too mindful. I know Neil and I were on a text chain where someone said, hey, I'm having people over for cards. Do I need to wear a mask? And my response was, hey, if they're not in your inner circle and you don't know where these other people have been, I would be wearing a mask, right? So again, better to err on the side of caution. Does anybody have, yes, Angel, you're on mute.
Trying. Did anybody get their Evusheld shots?
Yes, got them both.
All right. 'Cause
Yeah,
you-
so at Penn, if you're a Penn Medicine patient, they still have a shortage on those shots. So if you have another source, they are giving them to people that are transplanted 1 year or less. So that's the priority for Penn patients. Once they get more in, we'll be hearing about it. But if you can get those shots from another source, by all means, look into that.
Take this number down.
Okay.
It's 856
Uh-huh.
853 2025. And you tell them you're a transplant patient, you're immunocompromised. I've had this and I've had that, how many transplant you had, your history and everything. They review it with the pharmacist, and then they set up an appointment for you, and they have plenty of Evusheld.
Where's this at?
It's in New Jersey, though. It's in Mullica Hill and in Spira.
Oh, okay.
So,
I think I just got my 4th shot actually on 4th of March.
so after
And-
2 weeks, you get the Evusheld after that. Bert just got his shot on Friday. He's scheduled on March 31st to get Evusheld.
Yeah, so 2 weeks after that 4th
After
shot.
that
fourth booster.
After your 4th booster.
Oh,
Just,
after the 4th booster.
just know when you get the Evusheld, they're now doing 300 milligrams. I was one of the early ones back in January. I got it, I guess, in the second week that it was available, and they were only giving at CDC recommendation,
Right,
150 milligrams of each.
right.
And then the CDC revised it in, I guess, February, and I got a call right away from the transplant center, come on back down, we're
Yeah,
going to give you
yeah.
2 more shots. So, I got me. they
Weren't
got
you
me.
lucky?
Yeah, no, they've had it all along from day one.
Mhm.
That's why I'm so discouraged to hear it's still backed up at Penn,
Right.
but that number you have for Inspira, I think everybody should kind of wrap their arms around it and go get it done, because
Well,
that's a
Bert-
miracle thing.
Bert had COVID in end of December, beginning of January. He was admitted into the hospital, but between the time he was admitted, I got wind of this number. I called them, gave him his history. That was like, I called them on a Thursday. They said, "Can you be here tomorrow?" That was for the monoclonal antibodies. We went there, and then they said, "We have it. Let people know." And then I have given it to people ever since. The other day, he went back for his 3-month checkup since he had the COVID pneumonia, and his pulmonologist said, "We have plenty of it. We have plenty of it for these type, our type of people." So that's why I'm giving the number out. Don't
Good.
say my name in case they ask where you got this. But
Well, thank
transplant people, we got to stick together.
Yeah.
So.
So as we're winding down, does anybody have anything else that they would like to share with the group? No? Okay. Well, I want to thank you all again for joining us for this monthly meeting. I hope it was very informative for you. And if you do have any other questions that arise, please feel free to reach out. If you are not a TRIO Philadelphia chapter member, please go to our website, triophiladelphia.org. Look through the website, and it's only $20 to join us. And we really appreciate you considering that. Angel, thanks for sending your monies in. We really appreciate that. So with that, I wish everyone,
Sorry.
I wish everyone stay healthy and safe out there. And until next month.
Take care.
Thank you so much, Bill.
Bye.
Stay safe.
All righty.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.